Back in 1975, the film Jaws told us you'll never go in the water again. And a lot of people didn't, completely terrified of insane and ferocious man-eating great white sharks running wild off the coast of Massachusetts. But you know, great whites aren't the only creatures to be terrified of in the water. Even Jaws was influenced by the even more terrifying 1972 horror film Frogs. The tagline was, "Today the pond, tomorrow the world." Well, maybe it was influenced by that, but the point is that whether it's frogs, sharks, or piranhas, we have plenty to be afraid of once we are in the water. From the fish built like a saw to something right out of Count Dracula's tropical aquarium. Here's 15 terrifying sea creatures that actually exist. Number 15. Lancetfish. The lancetfish is sometimes known as the handsaw fish, and you can see why if you take one look at that crazy dorsal fin. These fish are pretty rare and live out in the open ocean, so the chances of ever seeing one are slim, but a lancetfish washed up on the shore in North Carolina back in 2014, and this monster had people freaking out. Just to add to their creepiness, they usually operate only at night, and they're big, more than 6.5 feet long. They have enormous fangs, which they use to hunt their prey, which often includes other lancetfish. Yup, this is one of nature's rare cannibals, and they have no qualms about chowing down on their brothers, sisters, and cousins. Although understandably terrified of this night-stalking fanged cannibal, the kind people of North Carolina decided to throw it back in the water where it belonged, only for it to wash up again. Is this just a really dumb fish, or is this just the first stage of a lancetfish invasion of the Carolinas, bringing their cannibal ways with them? Only time will tell. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Number 14. Payara. The dogtooth tetra doesn't sound so bad, right? But it has another name, one way more fitting for this sea nightmare, the vampire fish. They may not have a castle or a pack of wolves, but they have plenty of other things in common with vampires, including 6-inch long teeth, which they have to sheath in their own mouths so that they can close their mouth at all. Huge hidden fangs tell me the vampire game is strong in this one. Although no dogfish tetra have ever been recorded as owning a mirror, or even seen eating garlic. What more evidence do you need that these truly are the children of the devil? They could pass for a salmon in appearance, at least until they open their mouths. They live in the Amazon basin, along with a whole bunch of other terrifying river monsters like piranhas and tigerfish, who are actually relatives of the vampire fish. They are apex predators, and will take on fish more than half its own size. One bite from those fangs is usually enough to take down whatever piece of prey they have their eyes on, whether that be some other random fish or young British schoolteachers named Mina. Number 13. Tongue-eating louse. The tongue-eating louse, let's just take a moment to consider the name of this species, the tongue-eating louse. A louse that eats your tongue. Truly horrifying. But it's not a science fiction monster, it's for real. And it lives along the western coast of California, down as far as the coast of Ecuador, while also showing up in the Atlantic Ocean too. This parasite grows to about 1 inch in length when female, while the males are smaller. It enters a fish's body through the gills and uses its front claws to cut off the blood vessels of the fish tongue due to lack of blood.
Oh my god, that's so gross.
Eventually, the tongue falls off and the parasite takes its place, now functioning as the fish's new tongue, after attaching itself to the remaining tongue stub. The fish doesn't seem to be too bothered by this, and the two carry on pretty much as normal, other than having a tongue with eyes and legs and all that kind of stuff. Once the fish dies, the parasite then heads back out into the sea, looking for another tongue to eat, no doubt. Number 12. Giant Isopod. It's a real-life Pokemon. The giant isopod is the world's biggest isopod, which is a sea creature relative of the common woodlouse. Unlike the woodlouse, these isopods can grow to huge size, with reports of individuals reaching as much as 33 inches in length. With reflective, silvery eyes, these look like evil aliens from some faraway planet. They are scavengers and feed on the dead carcasses of whales, fish, and squid, which sink to the bottom. But they also hunt and will take down sea cucumbers, sponges, nematodes, and other slow-moving things which live in the deepest parts of the ocean.
If I don't like it, then I won't buy it no more.
That's nice. Okay, that's
There you go.
here you hold it.
Back when they were first discovered by French zoologists in the 1870s, it was an exciting discovery, since until that time, it was widely believed that the deep ocean was entirely lifeless. These creatures are notorious among fishermen, as when they are accidentally brought up in trawler nets, they are known for going full Cthulhu and attacking and destroying all the other things in the net in a bloodthirsty rage. So yep, pretty terrifying. Number 11. Sarcastic Fringehead. The Sarcastic Fringehead. This sounds a lot like something you might have caught on MTV back in the early 1990s, but it is in fact a kind of fish. And it's a kind of terrifying fish, one which looks a little like the dinosaur that jumped up and spat some sort of venomous fluid in the face of Dennis Nedry in Jurassic Park. These 12-inch long fish are known for their extremely aggressive and hardy natures, and they just love to fight, like if you packed Russell Crowe into a foot-long fish. They are not too bothered by who they fight either, happily taking on creatures far bigger than themselves, including humans, who get too close to the holes they live in. For the sarcastic fringehead, attack is definitely the best form of defense. They use that big freakish mouth for a kind of kiss fight they get into with fellow members of the species, but also for hunting. They just wrap it around whatever they want and try to swallow. And they have even been recorded trying to swallow an entire octopus. This sea monster has no fear and is ready to burst out from pretty much anywhere. Number 10. Northern Stargazer. This fish has a cute name. Makes it sound like a mystical fish, one of those who contemplates metaphysics and the meaning of the universe through the patterns of the night sky. In reality, it looks like it was dropped on its head as a baby. There's a lot of ugly fish in the ocean, but this one is brutal. But you might not insult it to its hideous face because it is a supreme hunter, living all over the world, including off the eastern coast of the United States. Just to add some extra fear factor, they're also venomous. But it gets its most chilling aspect from its special ambush tactics, which involve it burying itself partially in the sand, so all you can see is a pair of creepy eyes and a mouth looking out at you before it strikes. Just like a monster from a horror film, they wait until something comes a little too close and then leaps out to grasp their prey before disappearing back under the sand again. They live in the shallows and can be spotted at Virginia Beach and Myrtle Beach, so next time you're in the neighborhood, watch out for that little face in the sand. Number 9. Viperfish. The viperfish is one seriously weird-looking fish. This thing has some serious prehistoric looks about it. They live in the deep sea, and like our friend from earlier, the vampire fish, the viperfish is well known for its huge fangs, which have given it the reputation as one of the most fearsome predators of the ocean.
Wow, this is it.
This fish has such big fangs, they do not even fit in its mouth, instead curving back past their eyes. They swim fast and use the huge teeth to impale their prey like some kind of medieval execution. They hit their prey so hard, they have evolved a special vertebrae, which functions as a shock absorber. On their back is a long spine, which has a little light attached to it, used to attract prey as a kind of lure, which is actually pretty cool. It's not the biggest animal, measuring around 12 inches, so it is sometimes prey to sharks and dolphins with a taste for weird-looking food. They head up closer to the surface during the night, but spend the day 5,000 feet below the surface in the murky depths. Number 8. Anglerfish. Spare a thought for the anglerfish. While some fish get to hang out in beautiful coral reefs, basking in perfect waters, abundant with food and the light of the sun, other fish end up living in the cold, near lifeless and pitch-dark depths of the deep sea. And instead of being as brightly colored as a Jamaican carnival, these deep-sea fish are drab and ugly as hell.
Sensing danger and prey in the environment.
So no wonder the anglerfish has a reputation for being extra cranky. These horrifying beasts can grow to more than 3 feet and have mouths filled with huge, sharp, and semi-translucent teeth. Similar to the viperfish, the females of the species use a lure of luminescent flesh to attract prey, and the huge mouths with pliable bodies can swallow pretty much up to twice their own size. The males are tiny and live on the body of the females in a parasitic relationship, digging his sharp teeth into her flesh. Eventually, he will lose all of his organs except his balls, feeding off the female's blood and relying on her for absolutely everything. I know some human relationships like this. The female will have up to 6 males on her body at any one time. I guess when you look like this, you can't afford to be too choosy. Number 7. Fangtooth. More evidence that the deep ocean is not a place you want to find yourself. I mean, aside from the extreme cold, dark, pressure, and lack of air, you also have things like the fangtooth swimming around.
With food in such short supply at this depth,
Like his buddies, the anglerfish and the viperfish, this is another massive set of sharp teeth with some fish attached to it. They are not as big as some of their neighbors in the impenetrable darkness of the ocean floor, though. They are only about 6 inches long, which means they are good at hiding in the quasi-eternal void of bleakness and horror they choose to call home. 16,000 feet below the surface is also probably where Cthulhu actually does live, just waiting around until the day comes when he needs to rise to the surface and destroy everything in the name of evil, and he might have a couple of fangtooths with him as pets. They are basically Cthulhu's cats. Unlike other deep-sea fish, fangtooths can actually survive in aquariums for a few months. So, if you could catch one, you too could own a cat of Cthulhu. But why you would want to? That's another question. Number 6. Vampire squid. If you thought that one vampire creature under the sea was enough, well, you were very wrong. Not content with a vampire fish to haunt our nightmares, nature went right ahead and threw a vampire squid down there as well. Just to make things even crazier, to be more precise, it is known as Vampiroteuthis infernalis in its scientific classification, which means vampire squid from hell. Just to be sure we all know what kind of creature we're dealing with here, it's actually part squid, part octopus, but is really one of a kind. Let's be thankful for that. It has red eyes and dark webbing, which looks just like a vampire's cloak, although it is not really vampiric at all, preferring to feed on detritus from dead animals rather than sucking blood, or at least so the one we spoke to claimed, kind of nervously, while wiping something red forming around its lips with a paper towel. Just ketchup, it reassured us. Another cool feature of this animal is that its body is covered in photophores, which are organs which produce light, making this thing light up like a Christmas tree, and it can eject a cloud of bioluminescent mucus as a defense, which is also pretty cool. Number 5. Goblin shark. The goblin shark is one insane-looking creature. No wonder they named it after the mythical and mischievous medieval creature. The massive nose makes it look like the devil's pet unicorn.
Its mouth protrudes.
It is colored a raw pink, which looks like it has had all its skin scraped off in some kind of dungeon torture chamber. If you caught one of these 800 years ago, you would probably have believed you just fished something straight out of the lake of fire where Satan lives. Unlike some of the others on our list, goblin sharks are huge, maxing out at around 20 feet in length. But they are so rare, some scientists believe they could grow even bigger. We just haven't seen them all yet. They don't swim very well compared to other sharks, preferring to just hang out in the darkness, using their noses to sense the electrical fields of passing fish before striking. And what a strike! The whole jaw comes out of its mouth, chomping the prey in half, just like in Ridley Scott's Alien film. You were worried about the great white? Add this one to your list. It's maybe even more terrifying. Number 4. Barrel Eye. Down into the deep once more, and this time we are meeting something called the barrel eye. This fish has a seriously weird appearance. First up is its head, which is dome-shaped and transparent. That's right, it can look through its own head. The dome contains a clear fluid and 2 super strange eyes which are shaped like barrels. These eyes point upwards, so it can look right through the top of its head and see any prey that might be stupid enough to be swimming above this crazy-looking fish. They can rotate the eyes forwards too, which is useful for things like seeing where you are actually going. They live pretty far down, which explains why they need to look up a lot, hanging out as deep as 3,000 feet below the surface. And they are widespread too, living in the Pacific, Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. They only grow about 6 inches long though. But nevertheless, that's still a seriously creepy fish watching you from below with its see-through head. Number 3. Lamprey. And back to our old friend, the parasite. There's just something about parasites that's truly horrific. Some of our most terrifying monsters, like vampires, are basically parasites, and the lamprey is a terrifying addition to the parasite world. They are some of the most ancient things in the ocean, and in fact, they don't only live in the ocean, but in pretty much any environment where there is water. There are lamprey species in saltwater and freshwater, in lakes and rivers, and both in the shallows and the deep sea. And nothing can stop them. They are even known to climb waterfalls as they head upstream to mate. These are true vampires, and they attack other fish by latching onto them before sucking their blood. This leaves a terrible oozing wound, which maybe never heals, and leaves the victim prone to infection.
So eventually, hopefully these fish can survive on their own.
They have even attacked swimming humans in the past, so this is one vampire parasite you really need to worry about. They have a horrifying mouth full of teeth, and this attaches to its victim by sucking. As you can see, it's pretty gross and looks like, I'll leave it to you to decide what it looks like. Once attached, they begin to work their forked tongue into the flesh like a drill. And that's when the blood-sucking can begin. Just for good measure, they also inject their victim with anticoagulants so that the blood thins and goes down nice, easy, smooth. Only the poor fish or human has a hard time stopping the bleeding. 10 out of 10 for terror. Number 2. Frilled shark. The frilled shark sounds pretty cute actually, like a potato chip or an 18th century dandy, but in fact, it is not cute at all. It's a seriously freaky shark. Sharks are scary enough as it is, and are certainly best left to get on with their shark business in peace, lest they decide to tear you to shreds. These particular sharks are some of the most ancient, dating back to the Jurassic era. That's right. These things were swimming in the oceans an incredibly long time ago, as far back as a time when Sam Neill and Jeff Goldblum were still box office superstars. Anyway, the frilled shark has a pretty intense method of hunting. It lies silently in the water, waiting for its prey, before coiling up its body and lashing out like a snake to strike its victim. But that's just the beginning. Once they have stunned or killed their victim, 300 fangs, all facing backwards into the shark's mouth, guide the food down into its stomach. Once you're in, there's really no way of getting back out again. Scientists think that the coiled-up, gray-bodied shark could be mistaken for prey by some squid, and that the teeth being the way that they are is a form of camouflage, making this one sneaky little sea monster, and by little I mean 7 feet of prehistoric murderousness. Number 1. Sheep's head. After all that horror, maybe you're thinking, this ordinary-looking fish, does this deserve a place on the list at all? It's about 10 to 20 inches in length, a pretty normal body, cool stripes like a zebra, nothing too freaky so far. It lives along the western Atlantic, enjoying a pretty normal diet of crustaceans and bivalves, and the like. But then, suddenly the horror is revealed. Remember that whole thing with the new Sonic the Hedgehog and how it was supposed to be kind of cute, but the designers gave it human teeth and it looked unbelievably terrifying for some reason? Well, that's what the sheep's head fish is all about. Also known as the human teeth fish, this is another level of just outright horrifying, as it looks like it has swallowed Grandpa's dentures. Some kind of mysterious World War II breeding experiment might be responsible for this crossbreeding horror. But in fact, it uses its man teeth to crack open the shells of oysters and so on. That is one seriously freaky smile though, and I don't think I ever want to have to look at it ever again. So let's not. In fact, let's just stop here. I can't take any more terrifying sea creatures. Which of these crazy critters was your favorite? What animal would be most terrifying with a set of human teeth? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.